Hi bestie, welcome back to my channel where you're certainly gonna get hooked on books. Today's a fun video because we're gonna do the mid-year freakout tag. Basically, it's just a bunch of bookish questions ranging from the best to the worst books I've read, all the way down to some books I have currently on the TBR that I want to read before the end of the year. So let's get right into it. So the first question we have here today is the best book that I've read so far this year. If you've been following my channel for quite some time this year already, I think you would know that my best book of 2026 so far is Nothing Tastes as Good by Luc Dumas. I feel like that's a perfectly crafted psychological / body horror type of story that I really thoroughly enjoyed, as well as the mixed media elements of it was my favorite part about it because it brought it to a different, much more higher level instead of just telling a story from one point to the next point. The next question is the worst book that I've read so far this year, and for this one I actually have two. So the first one is The Dead Take the A Train by Cassandra Khaw and Richard Cadre. Honestly, this book, I struggled a lot with it. If it weren't for the audiobook, I most likely would have DNF'd it, honestly. The saving grace of that book was the first chapter. It had a very promising start, but honestly, after the first chapter, it just kept going downhill from there. It didn't feel like there was a clear, concise point or even plot for that matter. As well as like the horror elements felt kind of scattered, and I feel like it couldn't stick to one specific genre or type of horror, and it wasn't very clear as to what the actual dilemma was or what the main characters were trying to look for or like solve in a sense, because it was kind of like there was a little bit of a mystery in there as well. I don't know, it just wasn't enjoyable and it did not resonate with me at all. And then the second book is Nights in Rodanthe, I think I'm saying that name wrong, by Nicholas Sparks. This one, oh gosh. Again, another one that if it weren't for the audiobook, I would have for sure DNF'd it. This book takes insta-love to a whole new level because these characters, yes, they're on the older side, which I appreciate. I do like reading about older characters, but the fact that they met on Friday and by Saturday morning, they were already telling each other that they were in love with each other, that's too insta-lovey for me. I'm sorry. Like, I understand the predicament that they were in and, you know, that they just want to begin their life since they're in a later stage in their life. But honestly, it was way too much. I don't know. It just did not sit well with me. It felt weird and off-putting. And then I understand that it was more like a novella because it was like under 100 pages, I think it was. But again, it just, I don't know, it did not hit the mark for me at all. The next question is the best sequel I've read and the worst sequel I've read so far this year. So let's start with the good stuff. So the best sequel, honestly and truly, it was Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. That, I know it's like not a sequel in a sense because it's a book 2 in a whole saga, but that ending, still to this moment, I finished that book, I think it was like over a week ago now, or maybe even 2 weeks now. And that ending still has me so fucked up in the head. Like, I have PTSD. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen next. And I'm so scared about what's gonna happen next because the story is only getting more intense. And I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm so ready at the same time to keep going. And then the worst sequel for me, I actually have 2 on here on my list. This one is an actual sequel because it's a duology and it's a book 2. So the first one is called The Shattered King by Charlie N. Holmberg. And I discovered this one randomly on KU. I just read it randomly back in February. And then I found out that in March, as soon as I finished The Shattered King, book 2 called The Half-Hearted Queen came out. I was like, perfect. I can finish a duology and boom, bingo, bongo, bongo, or whatever the phrase is. But wow, I rated The Shattered King a 5-star. Like, that was a really top tier romantasy book 1 for me. But then when I went into book 2, The Half-Hearted Queen, I rated it, I think it was a 3.5. but maybe I think I was actually a 3. Okay, yeah, I rated it a 3.5 apparently, but the more that I've sat with it and now that I'm looking back at it, it feels more like a 3-star, honestly. It really went in a completely different direction than I thought it would, because book 1, the 3rd act, had a really strong problem that left in a cliffhanger, and then when we got to book 2, we got that cliffhanger resolved fairly quickly, like within the first 25% of the book. And then it kind of like shifted gears completely into something completely separate that wasn't really brought up in book 1, if I'm remembering correctly. So I don't know, it just took a different direction, and it was kind of jarring for me because I was like, oh, like This was not what I thought it was. It was like focusing on other characters and stuff. And if it would have been a longer series or maybe even a trilogy, maybe I would understand why it would go down that route. But I don't know. It just it did not, it missed the mark for me. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm really sad because I thought it was going to be like one of my top faves, newest romantasy duologies that came out this year, and I would be recommending it for the end of my days. But unfortunately, with the way that book 2 made me feel, I can't really recommend it. And funny enough, my sister-in-law actually read it too as well, and she felt the same exact way as me. So I'm not the only one. So the next question we have here is a new release that I want to read, but I haven't gotten to just yet. So this one is an easy choice for me, and it's Light Wielder by Rachel Schneider. I read Metal Slinger, I think it was last September. And ever since I finished that book, I have felt like a hole within me because the way that that plot twist came out of left field and completely destroyed everything and anything that I believed in is not funny. I'm so ready to read Light Wielder. Apparently, if I'm not wrong, it's set 4 years after what happened at the end of Metal Slinger, which I'm intrigued to see why Rachel Schneider took that route, and there must be a good reason why, you know, but I'm intrigued because I wonder if it's gonna like kind of reference the things that happened between those 4 years before it got to that point. I don't know, we'll see. I'm still really excited. I'm really looking forward to it, and I have a good feeling that it's going to be a really good solid read too. The next question is my most anticipated release of the second half of 2026, and I know that this is probably like super basic and probably this is the answer for everyone, but I'm not even gonna lie to you, it's gonna be ACOTAR 6. Also maybe the Imperium book from Fourth Wing that's coming out by Rebecca Yarros. I know that it's not book 4, but it's like a novella of some sorts. I'm pretty excited for that one too, but I'm most excited about ACOTAR 6 because I have been waiting for this for too damn long. And it's about time that we finally got an announcement. We're still waiting for a cover, we're still waiting for a name, and it's coming out in October. So I'm impatiently waiting, Miss Sarah J. Maas, for us to get an actual name and cover release. But nonetheless, I'm really excited for that one. That whole series was like a Roman Empire for me, especially when I got back into my reading journey. That was one of the books that got me in right back into reading. So I know it's basic, but I'm really excited for it, guys. The next question is my biggest surprise so far of the year. One being good and one being bad. My good biggest surprise is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. This one I randomly stumbled upon it on KU and I just decided to pick it up, and that was the best decision of my life. I thoroughly enjoyed that horror book. It's very gory, so definitely check trigger warnings, or if you're not into those things, I would not really dabble into this book because it is very gory. But that scene where we first get introduced to the horror element of the story, which is kind of obvious that it's a werewolf, right? That first scene is so scary. Like, a book to make me feel actually scared and terrified is very hard to do because, you know, you really have to imagine it when you are reading a book, and versus watching a horror movie, you could actually see it. But Nat Cassidy did such an extraordinary job at setting up the scene and describing the feelings of the characters and of the actual werewolf and how he looked and how intimidating everything was. Like, that whole first horror scene was chef's kiss, guys. Like, if you're a horror reader and you have not read this one, I highly recommend it. And then my bad surprise, I'm still so disappointed about this one, but it was The Sirens by Amelia Hart. That one is, you know, by the name you would assume that it's a mermaid fairy tale of some sorts, and it is to a certain extent, but it kind of went in a different direction that I was not expecting. It's told in dual timeline, one past, one present, and the present timeline was very enjoyable and it had a very solid plot structure, but the past timeline, I feel like it was a little bit of a struggle in trying to find a solid plot to follow because there was a lot of things being thrown everywhere. And honestly, it didn't really feel much of a siren / mermaid story until it was actually told to you directly that it was mermaids or a siren that was being the fantastical element of the story. Like, I don't know, it just felt like a regular historical fiction story with the fantastical element just being mermaids all of a sudden. Like, I don't know, it just really missed the mark for me. And the actual storytelling and prose of the story just felt kind of weird to me. I don't know, it did not resonate with me at all, which is really sad because I was really excited about this book because I'm a mermaid nerd. I love mermaids, but this one just did not hit the mark for me. I'm sorry. The next question is my newest fictional crush, and this one's easy peasy lemon squeezy for me. If you saw my spring reading wrap-up video, you would know who this is most likely, but it is Cameron from Your Knife My Heart by K.M. Morinova. That is my daddy. Like, OMG, that is my favorite male main character that I've read so far this year. He is #1 out there for sure. The way that he is, the way that he flirts, the way the smutty scenes were set up in the book with him specifically was, oh my god, it was so hot. Like, he really is such a hot character to me. And then a very close second contender for that top spot would be Slade from the Plated Prisoner series. That man is, oof, like, he will destroy the world just for Oren, and that is a man right there. The next one is books that made me cry so far this year. I have a long list here, but I definitely tried to cut it down to those ones that really have made me like physically bawl and shake. Like, I'm physically shaking. The first one was, I'm not gonna lie, is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. That story was very heartfelt, very poignant, and it just really like hit home for me. Like, it hit a very sensitive spot within me because it kind of reminded me also of me and my grandmother, and my grandmother did pass away last year in September. So, you know, I read it back in January if I'm not wrong. So, you know, the wound was still a little raw from my grandma's death, but I don't know, that story definitely hit home. And then the movie was really, really good in my opinion. You know, it could have been a little better, like just a little bit. Like, I had little critiques, but I think the critiques was mainly because I've read the book. But also another thing about that is that if you did not read the book, there were certain things in the movie that maybe you wouldn't have catched or you wouldn't have understood. So I feel like that was just a tiny flaw on the movie's part, but the book, amazing. I loved it. And I cannot wait to reread it again because it really resonates with me so intensely and deeply. Another one that made me cry is Before Your Memory Fades by Toshikazu Kawaguchi, which is part of the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. But honestly, that series, every single book that I've read so far, always makes me cry because all of the stories there are very, very heavy hitting. Another book is A Song to Drown Rivers by Anne Liang. That one definitely ripped my heart out and crushed it into a bunch of itty bitty pieces. And then more recently, which I just finished this book yesterday, is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. Those like last 60 to 100 pages of that book, it really like destroyed my soul. Like, I feel like I'm in the biggest book hangover after finishing that book because I just went through so many emotions and I just couldn't handle it, honestly. It was really tough, but it's not tough in a bad way, like tough in a good way. I really fell in love with these characters. I grew an attachment. I feel like I was part of that world, and that is just proof that the author did such a good job with this series. And this is definitely one of those all-time fave series for me moving forward because it was just done incredibly well. And the whole story and the overarching plots that were presented, and like I said, all the characters are also lovable. Even the bad ones, you know, you kind of do root for them at the end of the day too. It's just, oh, such a good series. And yeah, I think those are all. Yeah, I had one more, but I decided to take it off because I'm not done with this series just yet. The next question is books that made me happy. I only have one here from what I'm remembering, and it's a repeat from the last question, but it's Remarkably, I can never say that word, y'all. Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. But that book definitely made me happy. It did make me cry, of course, but it made me very happy. And like, it's such a heartfelt story and it's so amazing. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. All right, second to last question is the most beautiful book that I've purchased this year. I have two of them for you guys, actually. It's Metal Slinger by Rachel Schneider. The camera's not doing it justice too much, but this is just the dust jacket. And then the sprayed edges are kind of, you know, simple. It's nothing crazy. It's just like that metallic, what color is this? Rust or something? I don't know. But what really got me with this one is the actual hardcover. And this is so gorgeous, y'all. Like, I'm obsessed with it. It's Jovi and Acre. Oh my gosh. They look so good, guys. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Hold on. Look at that, y'all. So beautiful. I'm obsessed with this character art. And you turn it to the spine. It has the freaking bird. I'm forgetting his name, but he was such a good character in this story too. And then the end papers are nice, but it's really just, you know, nothing crazy. The other side is the same thing, and then the back cover is kind of the same thing. But this character art is the main reason I said I have to buy this book and put it on my shelves and show it off to the whole world. And I really, really, really hope that Light Wielder has like a similar edition come out like this, because wow, this is gorgina. And then the second book I have here is from my first Illumicrate box, because I finally got the call to join the Illumicrate subscription box. I'll link the video here up above and in the description box for you guys to check it out, so you guys could see like the whole unboxing, because I did do an unbox with me video. But the book that was for the month of May is called The Bloodbound by Ellis Hunter. This is just a dust jacket. So yeah, we could tell that it's all about dragons, and I believe it's like a werewolf also, the other one. I'm gonna show you the inside so you see what I mean. So that's the dust jacket. It's a reversible dust jacket because the other side is just the regular cover of the book. And then the amazing part, which is the actual hardback. So this looks more like a panther / cat mixed with like a bat, because he got wings, I don't know. And then the backside has like a polar bear and a werewolf in a sense, I think. I'm really not sure. I have not read the synopsis of this book, so I'm not sure what it's about. I'm not gonna lie to you, but just when I saw this book come in, it's so beautiful. I have to show you guys the end papers, but first the sprayed edges. Those are so beautiful. Those dragon scales with the fire coming up like that. Oh my gosh, obsessed. And then the end papers. This is the one in the front. That's so beautiful. And then let me show you one in the back. That is so gorgeous. Obsessed. Like, it's so pretty, guys, honestly. But yeah, I have no idea what this book is about. I've never read the actual synopses, so I'm intrigued. Oh, there's more character art that I forgot to show you guys. So there's this one and this one. So gorgeous. And then the last question is what books I have on my priority TBR that I have to read before the end of the year. I'm keeping this as minimal as possible because I have been kind of like a mood reader lately, at least since like May, that I decided to go rogue on my TBR and just read anything that I felt. Yeah, so I'm trying to keep this as minimal as possible because I'm not trying to set myself up for failure here, but I do have 4 specific ones that I really added to the priority TBR. The first one is the Red Rising Saga. I'm still missing Morningstar. I think it's called Iron Sun, Dark Age, and some other one, because I know it's like 6 of them total. I know that he's coming out with another one called Red God as well. That might be split into 2 if I'm not wrong. So definitely I still have a long way to go with that series, but I definitely want to prioritize that series and finish all of the books that are currently out so I could be up to date and ready to go when Red God comes out. The next one is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This one I did start it back in May, I think it was, but I did have a hard time kind of getting to the story, and it wasn't anything particularly with the story. It was one of those, you know, strong brain power required stories, and I just was not there mentally because I had so many like things happening in my life, from like trips to work to other events that we had to do and go to. Like, it was just a lot happening, and I didn't want to like only be solely focused into a story like that. I kind of wanted to give myself free range to read anything I want, which is why I decided to go rogue. But I'm still highly interested in reading The Raven Scholar, and I know that book 2 is going to come out, I think it's next year in 2027, so I definitely still have enough time, but I have to prioritize it and read it before the end of this year. The next one is a horror, and it's Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is a short little delicious delicious sapphic horror book that I'm dying to read. I've seen so many people read it and rage about it, and I feel like I'm going to be obsessed with this book. I don't know why I still haven't gotten to it. Like, it's such a short, quick one that I could read probably in a day. So that's definitely prioritized. And then the last one is The Throne of Broken Gods by Amber V. Nicole, which is book 2 in the Book of Azrael Gods and Monsters series. I'm really excited for it because the way that the Book of Azrael ended was insanity to me, and Samgil is literally like my baby daddy. I don't even know why I have not continued on with this series. This is one of those series I'm gonna want to like read back to back to back like I did with The Plated Prisoner, because I'm so obsessed with the characters in that whole world that was created. And also the special edition just came out of Throne of Broken Gods, so I really need to add it to the collection because I have the Book of Azrael up there in the special edition. So I definitely need to get the entire series of all special editions so they could be all together. It's so cute, it's so nice. Like, but there you have it, bestie. That is my mid-year freakish, bookish, what the fuckish. But there you have it, bestie. That is my mid-year freakout tag. Let me know in the comments some of your answers to these questions. I definitely want to know what is your best book, your worst book so far. I need to know what you have on your priority TBR to see if there's anything that we have in correlation that we can maybe chat about together down there. And if you like me in this video, make sure to give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and make sure to hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time that I post a new video. And if you made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment the explosion emoji just so I know who the real ones are that made it all the way to the very end. And with that, bestie, let's get hooked.